Adrienne Saunders has a meeting scheduled with Adam Lucas at a restaurant. They have never met before, so she does not even know what he looks like. The woman waits at her table, but Adam still does not show up. Suddenly Adrienne locks eyes with a handsome man sitting at a nearby table across from her. They exchange smiles. Adrienne asks the waiter to check whether the man might be Adam Lucas. Unfortunately he is not. Slightly disappointed, Adrienne leaves the restaurant. The woman works at an art restoration workshop. One day that same man from the restaurant shows up there and introduces himself as Jack Saunders. He is an art dealer and works at a museum of antiquities. Jack has brought in an ancient amphora to be restored. That is how they meet. They have lunch together and chat about everything under the sun, as if they have known each other for many years. Adrienne sees Jack as her soulmate. She used to think that sort of thing only happened in books. Jack jokes that he is deeply grateful to Adam Lucas, because thanks to him he met such an amazing woman. Less than a day after they meet, Jack proposes to Adrienne that they spend the rest of their lives together, even though it sounds like madness. 6 years later, the couple celebrates the 5th birthday of their daughter, Mary. All their relatives and friends have gathered for the party. Adrienne could not have dreamed of more. She has a loving husband, a wonderful daughter and a spacious loft. Jack is a very involved father and happily spends time with his daughter. Sometimes Adrienne still cannot believe how lucky she is. She is absolutely happy. Everything begins to fall apart when someone attacks Tomasz, an attribution expert at the museum where Jack works, and takes his life. The Saunders attend a party for people from creative circles, held right at the Chesterfield Hotel. Adrienne, dressed in a stunning evening gown, goes upstairs to call home when she suddenly stumbles upon Tomasz's body. The police arrive. Everything has been staged to look as though Tomasz passed away voluntarily. Adrienne finds the situation strange, unable to understand why Tomasz would have done such a thing. Moreover, no one close to him understands it either. The suspicions deepen when it is revealed that just minutes before his death, Tomasz had been examining a necklace from the Egyptian collection to determine its authenticity. Jack tells his wife that the necklace turned out to be a forgery. It was Jack who had purchased it for $4 million, so the responsibility will fall on him. What is more, it will leave a stain on his reputation. An investigation will begin soon. Of course Adrienne is ready to support her husband in everything, believing that they will be able to get through this together. Unexpectedly Jack is sent to an auction in Boston. Given his situation, he cannot refuse. Adrienne helps her husband pack his suitcase. Today is a bad day, but good days will surely come. The next morning after Jack leaves on the earliest flight, Adrienne goes to the Chesterfield Hotel, where she runs into her colleague Charlotte, who mentions that she recently saw Jack in the lobby. But how could that be, if he is in Boston? Still, Adrienne does not dwell on it. When Jack returns, she jokes that he did not go to Boston at all, but stayed in New York to go on a date. The man only laughs. The couple celebrates their 6th wedding anniversary at a bar, surrounded by friends. Noticing that Harvey Schwartz, one of Jack's colleagues, seems troubled, Adrienne asks him privately what is going on. Harvey says that he visited Tomasz's family to look into his financial records. The thing is, the counterfeit necklace was made to order for a certain Daniel Sherman for $10,000, but that name does not appear anywhere in Tomasz's accounts. The payments were made by check. Which means all of them are under suspicion. Adrienne realizes that something is not right. On top of that, Jack has started receiving phone calls at night. He assures his wife that they are work-related. Adrienne gets a call from a store. Jack left his credit card there on the day he was supposedly in Boston. The problem is, the store is in New York. Clearly Jack lied. Suspecting that something is wrong, Adrienne rummages through her husband's documents, hoping to find something that would expose him. Jack catches her going through his papers. She demands that her husband explain the trip to Boston. The man assures her that he has nothing to justify himself for. Her suspicions are unfounded. According to him, he stopped by the store on his way from the airport and must have accidentally dropped the credit card. Adrienne has one more question, about Daniel Sherman, whose business card she found in Jack's pocket. But the man has an explanation for that as well. Dozens of people give him their business cards every day, and he cannot possibly remember all the names. Wounded by his wife's suspicions and lack of trust, Jack takes his suitcase and leaves. He does not tell her where he is going. First Jack makes a call to someone from a payphone. Then he picks up a certain man at an agreed meeting place, and they drive off together. Meanwhile Adrienne is waiting in anxious suspense. To distract herself, she tries to draw, while her husband's car gets into an accident. At that moment Adrienne feels as though she has a terrible premonition. After rolling over several times, the car explodes. Those inside had no chance. The doorbell rings at the Saunders home, but instead of her husband, Adrienne sees police officers on the doorstep. She immediately understands what has happened. Her entire world collapses. She cannot believe this is really happening. When the forensic examiner hands her Jack's belongings found at the crash site, she breaks down in hysterics. The funeral takes place. Adrienne knows she will never be able to come to terms with the loss of the man she loved. Harvey supports her, although he himself is no less broken. 2 deaths in such a short time are a profound shock for everyone. Adrienne and her daughter visit Jack's grave. The girl says that her dad is in heaven with his parents, who have been gone for a long time. Adrienne knows she must stay strong for her child. Little by little, the woman learns to cope. One day while she is taking her daughter to school, her housekeeper, Lillian, finds that very Egyptian necklace while cleaning. Of course Lillian has no idea what it is, so without a second thought she places the necklace with Adrienne's other jewelry. The insurance company refuses to pay Adrienne, because the account number listed on Jack's policy was incorrect. The monthly payments had been going to another person's account, someone who, according to the insurance agent, died 16 years ago. It seems that Jack Saunders was not who he claimed to be. Adrienne's head starts spinning from all of this. The insurance agent advises her to contact a lawyer. After pulling herself together somewhat, the woman goes to the city archives and discovers that the person whose name received the payments was a graduate of Columbia University and died in a plane crash together with his parents. His name was Jack Saunders. It turns out that for all 6 of those seemingly perfect years of marriage, Adrienne had been living a lie. She had never truly known her husband. What else could he have been hiding? While the woman is looking through Jack's photo albums, Mary and her friend Carol Jingled are playing with Adrienne's jewelry and take the Egyptian necklace. Absorbed in the photographs, Adrienne fails to notice. The situation becomes even more confusing when she sees a school photograph of Jack labeled with the name Frank Sullivan. Determined to find out who her husband really was, she goes back to the archives and finds a school yearbook from the class of 1966, supposedly the year Jack, or Frank Sullivan, studied there. Yet there is no mention of Frank at all. The woman studies Jack's file obtained from the archives. It lists the addresses and phone numbers of his closest relatives. Adrienne has no idea that someone is constantly watching her, staying very close by. The woman goes to one of the addresses from the file, to Ellen, the cousin of Jack Saunders, who died 16 years ago. According to her, Frank Sullivan and Jack were best friends. Frank came from a troubled family. His father was an alcoholic and died long ago, and as for his mother, Ellen remembers almost nothing, as so many years have passed. Since Jack's death, Ellen has never seen Frank again. Adrienne understands that Frank meant a great deal to Ellen. The women exchange phone numbers. Before Adrienne leaves, Ellen asks her to pass along her regards to Frank if she finds him. Not much time passes before Ellen calls Adrienne and gives her the address of Frank's mother. Without hesitation she goes there and knocks on the door. An elderly woman opens it. Adrienne introduces herself as her son's wife. Mrs. Sullivan thought that Frank had died long ago, but it turns out that he had actually been living nearby, with a wife and a child. For all 6 years of her marriage, Adrienne was convinced that her husband's parents were dead. But those were the parents of the real Jack Saunders, not Frank Sullivan. It does not matter that her son died only a month ago. Rosalie Sullivan buried him a long time ago. As a child he was selfish, and when he grew up, he became a scoundrel. Adrienne only says that people change, especially when they are loved, and leaves. Mary cannot fall asleep, convinced that there is someone else in the house, and runs to her mother's room. Adrienne thinks that her daughter has simply had another nightmare. But the girl is certain she saw a figure standing in the corner of her bedroom. The next evening while cleaning the Saunders loft, Lillian notices that one of the windows does not close all the way. A few minutes later the young woman hears strange sounds and realizes that she is not alone. Returning home, Adrienne sees that the place has been turned upside down. Mary is nowhere to be found, and Lillian is lying unconscious in the bathtub. Trying to give first aid to the young woman, Adrienne does not notice the silhouette behind her. Fortunately all this time Mary was with Carol and her mother. An ambulance and the police arrive. Lillian is injured, but she will survive. Harvey stays with Adrienne. She feels that everything that is happening is somehow connected to Jack's death. Everything Adrienne believed in has turned out to be a lie. When she arrives at work, she learns that Rosalie Sullivan called, asking to meet her. Adrienne immediately goes to the woman's house, where she comes face to face with Jack, alive and unharmed. She touches him to make sure he is not a ghost. But the very next second Adrienne loses control, screaming that he is a bastard for making her believe he was dead. When she calms down a little and is ready to listen to her husband, Jack, or rather Frank, explains that Sullivan was his best and only friend. Jack paid for his college education, since Frank's mother could not afford it. When Jack died, Frank decided to take on the identity of his deceased friend and stole the documents from his apartment. That is how Jack Saunders came back to life. At some point Frank himself began to believe in his illusion. But everything changed with the appearance of Daniel Sherman, who began blackmailing Frank, demanding that he replace museum exhibits with forgeries. Frank had to disappear. Adrienne asks him, who then is buried in his grave. The man evasively replies that it was some guy he had once given a ride to. None of this makes sense to Adrienne. Frank asks his wife to believe that this was the only way he could protect her and Mary, because the danger threatened not only him. Adrienne does not understand why Frank never confessed everything. In tears, the man says that the very thought of his wife learning the whole truth was unbearable to him. Sherman is a terrifying man, capable of anything. It was he who took Tomash's life. The man begs Adrienne to help him find the Egyptian necklace in order to hand it over to Sherman, otherwise retribution will not be long in coming. Frank is doomed to remain dead and never see his daughter again. Adrienne leaves without ever seeing Rosalie Sullivan's lifeless body. At home, the woman searches everywhere for the necklace. She still cannot grasp that the man she believed to be her husband is alive. Frank calls Adrienne and tells her how ashamed he is of his lies, and how deeply he loves her. She does not know what to think. In any case, Adrienne needs time to come to terms with all of this. Suddenly, among Frank's belongings, she finds one of his fake IDs, issued in the name of Daniel Sherman. During a school break, Mary sees her father alive and approaches him without fear. Adrienne goes to the address found on Daniel Sherman's ID. Thinking that Adrienne is from a moving company, Mrs. Sherman lets her inside. Boxes packed with belongings are everywhere. The couple is clearly preparing to move. In a photo album, Adrienne in shock finds a black and white photograph of Mary. Mrs. Sherman, who is pregnant, says that it is her husband's late little sister. This is how Adrienne learns about Frank's double life. All this time Kathy Sherman had been talking on the phone with Frank, whom she considers her husband. He asks her to pass the phone to Adrienne and tells her that he has kidnapped Mary. Frank will return her as soon as he gets the necklace, which according to the girl, is now in the house of her friend Carol. The man strongly advises Adrienne not to contact the police, hinting that otherwise everything could end badly. She has time until 9 in the evening. After warning Kathy to be careful, Adrienne goes to the Gingold's house and takes the necklace. Then she waits for Frank at the agreed meeting place, their loft. Before handing over the necklace, the woman wants to see her daughter. But that does not suit Frank. He is certain that no matter what, Adrienne still loves him and will do whatever he says. The woman pretends that this is true, and then seizing the moment wounds Frank and runs. He chases after her. In the end, Frank corners her in a freight elevator. Or was it she who lured him into a trap? Frank shouts that he does not want to hurt anyone, but when the moment comes to act, he acts, and nothing can stop him. Now Frank wants only one thing, for Adrienne to give him the necklace. She hands it to him without resistance. But the moment Frank steps into the elevator, he falls down the shaft and is killed. All this time the woman had been holding onto the cable, creating the illusion that she was inside the elevator car. Soon after that, Adrienne and Mary pack their belongings. They move out of their loft to start life from a clean slate.